We are live!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Guts and Glory MMA. I am joined on the line today by Ryan The Hulk Spillane. Ryan fights Slim Trabelsi this coming Sunday on Levels Fight League 2 in the co-main event in his professional debut. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. Here in sunny Amsterdam.
It's quite sunny over here as well. You left the sun behind you as well. Absolutely melting in Ireland.
Was it raining yesterday or something, wasn't it?
No, it's still
not
not
raining.
raining.
Yesterday, no.
No, they've been promising it for a few days now, but it's still not come. As long as it stays off, the better. We will touch on your opponent. Obviously, you've got a big fight tomorrow night, and you're just after finishing up the weigh-ins, I believe.
Yeah, we weighed in there at 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
half one-ish. So I think it's like 5 or 6 now. So a few hours ago.
And you came in 257, I believe.
Yeah, so I weighed in at 117 kilos, and he weighed in at he weighed in like 107-ish.
Yeah.
So a bit of a difference, about 10 kilos.
Yeah, I was looking. I seen some of the pictures that Levels Fight League put up. There's a noticeable difference in size. All right, you're towering over him a bit.
Height-wise, I think he's only like a few inches shorter than me, but weight-wise, definitely I'm carrying a bit more than him, and just shape-wise as well.
Yeah. But as I said, we will get into that. I want to touch on some other stuff first. Obviously, this is the pro debut, and it's kind of coming for a long time. Like it's been going on now for 18 months at least. The pro debut was supposed to be coming. And do you think in hindsight, is it a blessing that you've gotten that extra 18 months in terms of the work that you've put in, the training, the recovery over the last, I suppose, since you fought it just over a year ago?
Yeah, like, so coming out of the first lockdown, kind of like July, kind of August-ish last year, I thought I was fully ready, and I put in a solid graft over lockdown. I was like, oh, sure, I'm ready to go and all that. And like, to see myself now, to see the graft I put in since then, like I'm kind of happy I've waited this long. Obviously, I would have loved to fought last year, you know, especially with Bellator having all their shows kind of around Paris and all them. I would have loved to fought them. I definitely think though that the layoff definitely helped me. Like, the shape I am right now is a complete different animal. You love saying it, but I turned from Lou Ferrigno Hulk into Bruce Banner or Mark Ruffalo Hulk.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think the layoff and like the sparring partners I've gotten and the training I've done in the last year and about 4 or 5 months, it just has made me a complete different animal. Like, I'm going to fight Hulk 3.0 instead of Hulk 2.0.
And if we do go back to, I suppose, your last few fights, you're 7-1 in your last 8. Do you feel like it obviously that was the most natural thing? Next step was going to be pro regardless.
Yeah, like for me, I believed I was ready in 2018 to go pro, and like I was completely wasn't. I was in complete wrong mind frame. I still hadn't that that maturity yet, and I believe the last year and a half, I developed that proper maturity to become professional and to more act and kind of carry myself as a professional. It definitely coming off the Oceanic win, I thought it was definitely that was the right step point. Just kind of finishing my career on an IMAF victory. Especially losing 2019, I felt that I needed to have the one more gold medal and IMAF victory just to kind of finish off my career. Just because IMAF was such a huge kind of part of my career, I kind of wanted to finish with that one gold, that last gold, and to finish it in like 20 seconds ish. Definitely was a nice little finish as well to the amateur career.
Of course, and we're seeing it more and more now. The IMAF competitors, and they're reaching the big show now, the UFCs and the Bellators, and they're talking about these competitors, former gold medalists at IMAFs. There isn't too many that hold 3 gold medals at IMAF events. You're in a fairly rare group.
There's only a few of us. I think I'm in fairly good shoulders. I think Michelle Montague, and I want to say Mohamed Makhaev, and a few of the really, really big names carry the 3 to 4 medals, and it's a nice little kind of hall of fame to be in with those guys, especially a lad like Mohamed who has gone on. I think he's 4-0, 5-0 now as a pro. And he's kind of setting the path where I'm going to push on to now, 4, 5-0, big shows, that kind of way. Like, so it's a very nice little stepping stone for me, like, to push towards guys like that. Like,
of course. And tell me, this weekend, obviously, originally you were slated to be fighting in Battle Arena in Birmingham tonight. Tell me kind of what happened there, and how did Levels come about so quickly?
So a certain person leaked the fight being cancelled.
I know I was going to get fucking thrown under the bus here.
So me and Paul finished up recording a Proam for the Connor weekend. Walked into the kitchen, and Paul let a slip that my opponent had pulled out. So that was about 2 weeks ago. And And then it was kind of a real push to get something, because obviously we were 2 weeks out then, and to get an opponent 2 weeks, and especially to fight someone, you know, of my caliber. I know I'm a pro debut, like, but like if you were to research me, you would see all the fights and all that. Like, so it's a hard one to get.
Yeah.
And lucky with Liam, I know Liam was literally ringing gyms over in England to see if they had heavyweights, and especially down to Carl Kelleher and MTK, they were able to find this fight here in Amsterdam. And obviously it's a bit of a better location to go to, and like the production of the show is really cool. We were in the cage yesterday, and the setup looks really cool. It's behind closed doors event, so it's definitely a cooler show to fight on. I would have loved to fight in Battle Arena just to kind of go back there, because I think my third ever amateur fight was at Battle Arena, so it would have been a cool show to go back to. But I'm definitely happy where I am right now. My opponent, I'm definitely happy with that opponent as well. And
you mentioned there MTK. There's a lot of news has come out regarding yourself in the last few weeks, MTK being one of those that you've signed with MTK now, and you mentioned that they've opened this door for you and got you this fight on short notice. Do you think that relationship is going to be a good one for you going forward, and that it'll open more doors for you?
Oh, absolutely. Like I've known Carl since I fought in his show about 3 years ago. He brought us all over to Dubai. He brought over Team Ireland with John Kavanagh and Liam, and we fought on a rooftop in Dubai, and it was an amazing experience. And I've known Carl since then. And we've kind of built a healthy relationship, and now he's my manager, and I'm very happy to be with MTK. I believe the doors that they can open now will be, you know, the next 4 to 5 years are going to be really, really exciting times.
Yeah. And with that news, around the same time you announced as well that you had been cut from the Bellator roster due to the fact that they haven't been back over here, and I suppose your contract was out of date in some sense, even though you hadn't got a fight with them yet. I suppose, how did you take that news when you initially heard it, and did it kind of change your perception coming into this fight, given that it was an exemption as opposed to first fight of your pro contract?
I found out, I think it was the week I headed up to Dublin to finish up my fight camp. To me, it kind of I knew it was coming. Like when I saw articles going up about like the likes of, you know, Will Flory, Franz, Carl, all those guys being released as well. Like I was like, why isn't my name there? You know, like I'm, you know, all those guys were experienced pros. Like if I saw that they were kind of cutting the European side of stuff just because they weren't in Europe, and like realistically, when they come back to Europe, they'll re-sign all those guys, and you know, I might get the call as well. But like, I didn't treat that as bad news. I just treated it as a new opportunity. So now it could be an opportunity where I have 6-7 fights here, you know, on all different shows, like this kind of show levels, and you know, all our shows, maybe UA Warriors, you know, Brave, and then it could be a contender series and straight to the UFC, or it could be PFL, or it could be off the Risen, or you know, off the One Championship. The opportunities I have right now, and especially with MTK backing me, and all my training team here in SBG in Cork and in Ireland or in Dublin, I believe that the opportunities I have now are way, way better. Like I go off and I could fight 3 or 4 fights and be back a Bellator, you know? But I have the option where I can go anywhere now. Like I think it's a cool thing now, where the next kind of like 2 years, 3 years are going to be really cool for myself. Yeah,
you're getting to write your chapter again, your first chapter again, in a sense. And I suppose with 3-4 fights under your belt, you're going to be in a better position, bargaining power wise, to kind of put yourself in a better position contractually with them.
Oh, definitely. Like I came into Bellator with a developmental contract. Especially now after when I win tomorrow, and if I get another 3 or 4 fights before the end of the year, I'll have way more bargaining power, and especially now with MTK bargaining as well. Like that's a bit more of a push. Like so, I could get a bit more cash off, more a better contract, or get a fight with them. You know, it could be over in the States. You know, anything can happen, or it could be a situation where I go off a different promotion as well.
Yeah, of course. And you mentioned there that UFC is a hopeful option. Could be Bellator, could be many other different promotions. But we saw recently that UFC announced their September 5th show is going to be in London. And Bellator have just announced also that their November card is going to be in Dublin. All going well. That is the plan for both promotions. So does it give you extra motivation here coming into your pro debut, knowing that the big boys are coming back to town, and that this side of the pond, at least, there's going to be more opportunities again going forward with a couple of wins?
No, I'm going tomorrow, and I'm doing the business regardless of if there was a show or not. I'll still be looking for that 1-0, regardless of if there was a UFC show or a Bellator show. Obviously, that's kind of cool that they've come back, and you know, COVID's kind of disappearing now, like, and shows are kind of come back. That's awesome, but doesn't change the fact that I'm going in tomorrow and getting that one.
Yeah, For sure. And I suppose, look, we have to talk about the fight you've coming up, and you mentioned there that you weighed in. Did you get any read off the opponent weighing in with him, or did you kind of see any change in his body language or anything when you were up there with him?
A few things of that, like I haven't actually done that many face-offs in my career. I have loads of fights, but not many face-offs because
you don't do them at the IMAS.
You don't do the face-offs. I've had a few, I think about 4 or 5. I definitely feel that I have this over him, experience-wise, skill-wise as well. I definitely have this. Like, there's way more advantages and way more eggs in my basket than are in his basket.
Yeah, and we talked already there just before we came on about he's 1-0 technically as a professional that we know of, but it on Tapology he's 1-0 as a professional. He's 0-0 on other platforms. He's only had 2 fights, 1 loss as an amateur, and then one pro win. Like you said, you've 19 fights. Like, is this a fight that's kind of the ideal first opponent for you, given that you feel like you have much more experience than him?
See, this is going to be a thing for my first 6-7 fights. They're all going to be ideal opponents because they're all going to be guys who had 3 or 4 amateur fights, then turned pro. Even if you could have an experienced pro, like for example now, Palihan over on fighting on Combatcha Global next week. Yeah, all the guys he's fighting are experienced pros, but Pa has as many, or I think it's very close to as many amateur fights as me, and he's going to run through all. He's going in as a debut fighter against guys who I think one of his opponents, I think one of the guys in the tournament is 7-0 or something like that. Yeah, but he's only fought in the local scene in Italy or something like that. That's nothing compared to Pa going over to IMAF tournaments and going over to England out at fights and all that. And it's going to show my career as well, where I fight guys who are experienced pros, but they don't have the fights. I've gone off to Bahrain. I fought in Australia 2 times. I fought everywhere. I fought pretty much everywhere, and I've experienced all the different styles. I fought Russians. I fought Ukrainians. I fought Polish. I fought all the different styles. So nothing's going to nothing that he can show to me now tomorrow will surprise me. Yeah, and he's coming out of MMA Factory in Paris. Obviously, they're noted for their heavyweights. They have Cyril Gane, who's currently one of their top heavyweights in the gym at the moment, who's fighting for the interim UFC title. And he had previously sparred with Francis Ngannou when Ngannou was at that camp. And, of course, he's heavyweight champion in the UFC. Do you see fighting someone from their gym as an opportunity as well to showcase yourself to the elite in your division? Oh, definitely. Like, him coming out of a renowned gym just puts better when I beat him. I beat a guy who came out of a very well-known gym, He's training partners with Cyril again. I'm training partners with Johnny Walker, we can drop names left, right, and centre, That doesn't matter because we're going to a fight and we're going down scrapping, Who you're training with doesn't really matter, And, it's going to show tomorrow that, the experience he has just won't come near me. Yeah, but is it nice to know at the same time that more than likely Cyril Gane is going to be watching your fight tomorrow night? Oh, absolutely. I was kind of hoping he'd be here. So I just kind of size myself next to him, see my height and stuff next to him and all that. But he's not here at all. So I was kind of hoping that. I think Overeem, because Overeem was the first show. Yeah. So I think Overeem's going to be there tomorrow. I really want to size myself next to Overeem and see kind of my kind of dimensions next to him. So hopefully I get a photo or something with him. That'd be cool. Overeem is planning a move back to K1, so we could be talking Ubereem as opposed to Overeem by the time you meet him tomorrow night. Yeah. There was words from going to Bellator as well. He could be a future opponent as well. Very true as well, yeah. And I do want to touch on that. Obviously, Slim has come up now with only a few days' notice, essentially, a week's notice or 2 weeks' notice less. Does that play any factor in your preparation late on? Or does it kind of shake you coming close to the fight, knowing that there's such a change of opponent with such little time left? No, not at all. So my official camp started about 15 weeks ago. That's when we found out about the fight. We watched a few fights of him, and that was kind of it. We didn't really plan any fight around him. We planned around my skill set. We built my skill set. So the change of opponent makes no difference to me. I've built my skill set in the last 15 weeks or the last year and 5 months. My skill set has been improved. Going in there, it's he'll choose how I finish him. Yeah. So whether that he takes him down and I sprawl on him and I end up getting a submission, or I'm getting a ground and pound finish, or if we're standing and I get a TKO, it's completely up to him how I finish him because I have way more skill sets than him. He only has a few ways to finish the fight.
Yeah.
I have multiple ways to finish this fight.
And you've segued perfectly into my next. We sit here every week and we sit across from each other and we do our Proam predictions. It would be wrong of me if I didn't ask for a prediction for this one.
I completely ignored you gave me a Q&A yesterday. You asked my Proam prediction. I'm fully not giving you one because my Proam predictions are fucking awful all the time. And I'm not jinxing the fight at all. So you're not getting a Proam prediction.
No problem. Coming up, do you feel like you're opening the door over the next couple of weeks for the Irish athletes? Because as you mentioned, Palahan is fighting next week in Combache. You have Brian Moore and Kiefer Crosby are fighting in Bellator next weekend as well. Do you feel like you're going just ahead of them and you're going to set the tone for the week and make it a great week for Irish MMA?
Especially for Irish MMA, but especially for Mergem here in Cork. So
yeah,
Liam is literally staying here until Wednesday, and then he's flying out to Bulgaria to coach Team Ireland over in the cadets, Biomath Cadet World Championships. So we have Fiona O'Rourke and Fufu Fares and Luke Williamson competing on that.
Yeah.
So that's I feel like I'm the flag bearer and kind of starting off the victories for Team SBG Cork, leading out that weekend, and then finishing with Palahan on Combache Global. And then as the weeks go on, then Kerry Ann will be making her amateur debut in August.
Yeah.
Hopefully a few other fights get announced and all that. A few of our fighters get fights to that. But I feel like I'm kind of leading now, where we've kind of been in lockdowns now, where fighters are finally getting fights. I feel I'm kind of leading out that now as kind of the longest member of the fight team.
Yeah.
I'm starting it all off. So my pro victory, then you'll have 3 gold medals for Team SBG Cork, and then another pro victory then for Palahan.
Very good. Before we let you go, just a few quick ones. How can we watch your fight tomorrow night, and where can we find your pay-per-view link?
So you can go on to lflmma.com and then you put in code Spillane when you're purchasing. If not, head over to my Instagram, Ryan Spillane MMA, and you click the link in the bio, and I have all the links there, and this right there then.
Perfect. And given the victory here, what time frame are we looking at for the next one? What's next on the horizon for the rest of this year?
I'd say realistically fighting again end of August, start of September, and then kind of November, December. Getting 3 fights for the end of the year is kind of my ideal 2021.
Yeah. Perfect. And do you have any shout outs you would like to do, any sponsors you'd like to thank before we let you go?
I'll go through all my sponsors then. So we'll start off the main one, SBG Cork City. Then we'll go Boo Health and Fitness, Here's Health, Ross Nutrition, Alpha Caveman Fightwear, McCarthy Cycles, Mallow Motors, Winter Warrior National, and then management company MTK.
Very good. And I do want to ask you, actually, because I haven't got a chance to ask you yet. It must be an honour, like obviously you have some great sponsors there, but getting the Winter Warrior crest on your logo, on your fight gear, and being sponsored by them, considering you're a coach of the programme for the last 7 years, or well, 7 seasons of it, it must be an honour to walk out with the Winter Warrior logo as well. Yeah, I coached the first ever season here with Liam. That was nearly 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. Did the whole season. I haven't done as much coaching because the 6 a.m. starts are fairly hard. I've kind of been here and there. I've been at most of fight nights and I've helped out and all that. But it's really cool to have such a big logo on my banner, because they've released huge news of Rich Chow over in the States taking over. You have Laura Sanko, who's a brand ambassador. Jenna Harding carried the flag out for in Bellator a month ago, I think. I think I'm the first European fighter to carry the flag. I think that's a cool one. It's a big one too. It's a huge one to carry an international brand like that. Yep, for sure. Thank you very much for joining us, Ryan, and best of skills tomorrow night. And we expect first round stoppage as always. Thank you very much. Which is my Proam's prediction. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining us.